The lecture hall hummed with the usual pre-class chatter of the Galactic Military Academy's most prestigious combat strategy course. Anally IA sat near the back, fingers absently tracing the worn leather bracelet on her wrist. A simple thing, really, with Earth's continents stamped in faded blue against brown leather. It had been her grandfather's, from before the humans joined the greater galactic community. Look at the primitive wearing her little trinket. Zexthor clicked, his mandibles spreading in what passed for a smirk among the Kavari. Several students turned to look, their various appendages rippling with amusement. Anally didn't respond. She'd learned in her first week that engaging only made it worse. What is that supposed to be? Velmora leaned over, her crystalline eyes glinting. Some sort of religious symbol? It's Earth, Anally said quietly. My homeworld. The laughter started small but spread quickly through the assembled species. Kavari, Thernesian, Velkai, and a dozen others. To them, Earth was a joke, a backwards death world that had somehow stumbled into faster-than-light travel only 80 years ago. The humans were new, soft, and proven. Earth, Zexthor repeated, his voice dripping with condescension. The planet where the apex predators are, what? Large felines. How terrifying. More laughter. Analia's jaw tightened, but she kept her eyes forward. Just 3 more months until graduation. 3 more months of proving herself in a universe that saw her species as barely evolved primates playing soldier. The door to the lecture hall slid open with a pneumatic hiss, and the room fell instantly silent. Instructor Kelvin entered with the measured stride of someone who'd seen real combat. The Dravixan War Master was a legend. 2 meters of scaled muscle for arms, and eyes that had watched civilizations burn. His service record included the Andromeda Pacification, the Horsehead Nebula campaign, and conflicts whose names were still classified. He'd been teaching at the academy for 15 years. Nothing rattled him, until his gaze swept across the room and landed on Analia's wrist. The instructor stopped mid-stride. His primary hands clenched, and his breathing apparatus flared. For a long moment, he simply stared at the bracelet, his vertical pupils contracting to slits. The silence stretched uncomfortably. Students exchanged confused glances. You. Kelvin's voice was barely above a whisper, but it carried the weight of mountains. Human, where did you get that symbol? Anally stood slowly, uncertain. It's just Earth, sir. My grandfather's bracelet. Just Earth, Kelvin repeated. He moved closer, and for the first time in Analia's 2 years at the academy, she saw something in an instructor's eyes that she'd never expected to see. Fear. Do any of you know, Kelvin began, his voice recovering its commanding tone, but carrying a new edge, why humans were admitted to the Galactic Council so quickly after achieving FDL capability? Silence. It was a question that had puzzled xenohistorians for decades. Usually, species waited centuries for admission, proving their stability and value. Because we were terrified, Kelvin said flatly. Terrified of what would happen if we made them wait. If we made them angry. Zexthor's mandibles twitched in confusion. Sir, I don't understand. Humans are from a Class 12 death world, Kelvin interrupted. Do you know how rare that is? There are only 3 other Class 12s in known space, and none have produced sapient life. Earth should have killed humanity 1,000 times over. He turned to the display screen, pulling up a star chart. A small yellow sun appeared, insignificant among billions. 40 years ago, I was part of a reconnaissance fleet that stumbled into Earth's system. This was before first contact, before humans even knew we existed. Kelvin's secondary hands trembled slightly. We'd tracked a Zalthoran hive ship there. Do you know what Zalthoran are? Several students nodded nervously. The Zalthoran were nightmare fuel, a hive species that had devastated 12 systems before being eradicated. A single hive ship had landed on Earth. We arrived 3 weeks later, expecting to find either a new Zalthoran colony or a dead world. Kelvin's eyes fixed on Anally. Instead, we found humans wearing Zalthoran chitin as armor, using their own weapons against them. The humans had already won. The lecture hall was deathly quiet. 3 weeks, Kelvin continued. It took them 3 weeks to reverse engineer alien technology, organize a global defense, and completely eradicate a threat that had destroyed civilizations millions of years old. And they did it with primitive projectile weapons, chemical explosives, and he laughed, a sound without humor, sheer spite. He pulled up another image, a photograph from the reconnaissance mission. It showed a human soldier, face painted in mud and blood, standing atop a pile of Zalthoran corpses, holding a makeshift spear with a Zalthoran queen's head mounted on it. We watched from orbit as your species did the impossible. We saw your soldiers charge into hives with nothing but chemical fire and blades. We monitored your communications, not fear, not panic, anger, pure, directed rage at something that dared to invade your world. Anally, Ia felt tears pricking her eyes, but she held them back. When we finally made contact, Calvin said, "Our diplomats had one directive. Do not provoke them. Do not make them feel threatened. Because a species that can do that," he pointed at the image, "a species that treats a Zalthoran invasion as an inconvenience to be solved with determination and improvised weapons, that is not a species you want as an enemy." He turned back to Anally Ia. "That symbol you wear, that primitive trinket, that represents the most dangerous variable in the galaxy. Not because humans are the strongest or the smartest, but because you are unkillable. Your world tried to kill you for millions of years, and instead of dying, you thrived. You conquered your planet, then looked to the stars." Zexthor had gone very still. Velmora's crystalline structure had paled. "Every species in this room," Calvin swept his gaze across the students, "comes from a world that was kind enough to let them evolve. Gentle gravity, mild weather, abundant resources. You are all products of easy worlds." He looked back at Anally Ia. "Humans are products of a world that wanted them extinct. And they not only survived, they made it their bitch. So when you mock that bracelet, remember, you're mocking the symbol of a species that turned hell into home and called it a nice day." The instructor moved back to his podium. "Now, let's discuss the Battle of Thermopylae. A human engagement, naturally. Pay attention. You might learn something about real warfare from a primitive species." As the lecture began, Anally Ia caught Briar's eye from across the room. Her fellow human, the only other one in the advanced combat course, gave her a subtle nod and a knowing smile. She touched the bracelet again, but this time, she didn't hide it. This time, she wore it like the badge of honor it was.